Hello, welcome. We are gradually coming to the end of the series, and this is previously the last section before we start kicking it on with the project for the whole of the series. Now we have this section, classes and objects, as the title. At first, we are going to be looking at classes, static variables, and methods. We have looked at this stuff previously, but we are going to be working more with classes and static variables in detail. Then we'll look at interfaces and enums. We look at objects and instance variables. So objects, we have been talking about objects for quite some time now. Now in this section we'll be looking at objects, and this section mostly has to do with objects in specific detail, objects in detail. Then we'll look at construction of an object, how to construct an object. Then we'll also look at writing constructors for objects. So that's basically one of the reasons for this particular part. We'll look at object getters and setters. We'll look at inheritance and polymorphism, this and super, the object class, and method overriding. Remember when we did a method overloading, where a method can have the same name but they have different signature. Now this is another concept, and this concept is known as method overriding. So I'll open up my IntelliJ. Okay, IntelliJ ID is right here already. So first of all, I did mention that we'll be looking at packages in the future. So for this section, for this video in particular, where we want to deal with classes, I'll create a package. So with that, we use our normal alternate insert, and I'll come to package, and I'll give this package a name of IOCODES. org.io codes Java, and press enter. Now inside of this package, I'm going to create a class, and this class I'll call it evaluate. The previous time we created an interface called evaluate. Since I'm storing this class inside of a new package, it doesn't really matter. So I'll create a Java class, console, we'll call the Java class evaluate. Don't ask, I don't want to add it to Git, so I'll cancel. So we have a Java class called evaluate already. Now inside of this Java class, I want to create static methods, and we also have static variables. So this static method, we are going to be calling this method from our main class. We are going to pretty much be doing some mathematical computation. We just use the normal mathematical arithmetic operation. We use the addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, as well as the modulus operator. We are just going to create methods that takes into parameters and then computes the value and return back to the program. So first of all, we are going to create a public static int method, or let's just make all of them return a double value, and we're going to call this one add. Takes in 2 double value, and all it does is just to return the sum of x and y, and then we define another method that also returns the double value, and we call this one subtract. Takes in 2 values again, and it returns the difference between the value x and y. So we'll just say return x minus y. Then we have the one for multiplication, call it multiply double x y, and returns x times y. Now we have division. So it returns x divided by y, and let's do the last one, which is mod. Okay, this is basically going to return an int value. So you can see mod and say double x double y, let us just make this one int. Let us take it. Let the method takes int variables as parameters and not double variables. So we are going to say return x mod y. So that's it. We have around 5 methods already. Now to use this the method in this class, in our main class, we can go ahead and say int x is equal to 9, int value is equal to 10, and then we can say double sum equals to evaluate dot add. We are going to call we are going to call x and we put value. Okay, I'm going to remove the whole of this stuff again to evaluate. Now we are going to click on this part that says evaluate org.iocodes.java. I'll press enter, and as you can see, it has imported the evaluate class. The reason is because my evaluate class is not inside this default package that have the main method. I have another package that has the evaluate class. So for that, it is going to import the package from the class from the package, and it's going to include this import keyword here, just like we don't have the Java class, so we don't have the scanner class inside of our default method. Instead, we have it inside of our external library, and inside of this external library we have the UT class coming. We have the UT class right here, the UT package. So it's going to come over to Java, and inside of Java we have a package called UT. It's going to come to this UT. Then right here we have the scanner class. Let me scroll down a bit. So we have the scanner class right here. So that is where it will look for the scanner class, then it goes ahead and imports it from the package that we have the scanner class. Now in our case, we are making use of evaluate, and this evaluate is inside the package. That is not the default package of the program. the package that is the default package is just the source. In fact, there's no default package at this level at the moment, but inside of the source folder we now have a package, and inside of this package we have the evaluate class. Now to use the evaluate class, we have to import it inside any program that is not in the package, inside any class that is not in the same package with the evaluate. So for that, we'll say double sum equals to evaluate.add, say x, then we'll put value as the second value, then we can print out sum, sum of x is equal to sum. Now when I run this program, we have sum as the sum of 10 and 9, which is 19. You can see the sum of 9 and 10 is equal to 19. So this is how the math class, this is similar to the math class. So we have the math class and we have function, and these functions return what? Variables. Now we can go ahead and declare a static variable in this class, and you can say static number of static int number of functions equals to 5, because I just gave a static, I just declared a static variable called number of functions. I just want to represent the number of functions we have in the class. So we have add, subtract, multiply, division, and mod. Altogether we have 5 functions. Now if I want to know the number of functions in the evaluate class, I can go ahead and say int number of functions equals to evaluate dot number of functions. As you can see, I have an error right here. The reason is because due to the fact that inside of my evaluate class, I just declared static int. So the public here is an access modifier, and we have static also, that is an access modifier. Is the modifier, just that when you declare a variable or a method as static, that method belongs to the class, and if it's a variable, the variable belongs to the class. So non-static method and non-static variable belongs to the object of the class, an object which is an instance of the class. We'll be going to object a few moments from now. So the public word right here means that the method or the variable can be accessed from another package. So that's an access modifier. If I change this addition method to private and change to private, then we have an error. If I click on one related program, you can see that we have this add method is throwing an error right here because it is not private. So it's telling me to make evaluate.add public. So if I click on it, it's going to change evaluate.add right here back to public. Now to be able to load this one, the number of functions, we have to include the public keyword. So when I go back to my main, you see the error is gone. So this is known as access modifier. So There are basically 6 different types of access modifiers, and I will name them. You can put them down. We have public, we have private, we have protected, we have default, we have final, we also have static. Now the final is not really a modifier in a kind of essence. The final is used to create constant variables that we don't want to change. Constant variables. I didn't draw it to your attention. It should have been something I should have said before now. So when we declare a constant variable, we can't change that variable. We can't change the value of that variable. If it's an object, we can't change the value that the object is pointing to. So when you declare something as final, it is final. I'll give you an instance of a final variable. Our maths.py is an example of a constant variable. It's declared final in the math class. So we'll use the control B. When you hover on this pie, just click on control B and it's going to load the math class. As you can see, we have public static final double. So the pi is a final variable. That is why they use the uppercase letter. So when you are declaring final variable, you have to use the uppercase letter. It does not really matter if you use the lowercase letter, or you can use any letter of your choice. You can mix it, both uppercase and lowercase, just that for convention's sake, so that when other programmers are looking at your code, they will know that okay, you are trying to refer to a final variable, a variable that you don't want to change the value. So that is that, and I'm going to remove the whole of this stuff. I'm going to be defining a final variable here. I'll say final. This is a local final variable. Final int z equals to, since it's a final variable, I have to use the uppercase, equals to 10. Now when I try to change final, when I try to change the value of z, I say z equals to 9, you see I have an error. When I click on it, it says make z not final. So when you declare a variable as final, you can't change the value that has been stored in the variable. You can't change the value that the variable is pointing to and put it in that instance. Now we can change the value of evaluate.number of functions in this class, and anytime we are using number of functions from the evaluate class inside of this main class, then the value we've assigned to it in this class is what we'll be using. So I can say evaluate dot number of functions equals to 7. As you can see, we've changed it. Now if I create another Java class, I can also load the evaluate.number of functions from the other class, but it is only the value that has been defined in the evaluate class that will be used in that class, and not the one that this main class changes. So if we have 2 different classes, we have evaluate the number of functions as 7, and in the other class we call our evaluate the number of functions, it is going to be equal to 5 and not 7, because these classes are 2 different classes. Now I want to make sure that this value cannot be changed, so for that I'll include the final keyword, and I'll change all of this to uppercase. See number of functions. Since I have different words, I'm separating them by using what's it called? Oh, I forgot. Try remembering, but my brain just can't help it. So I'll say number of functions. can see when I try to change number of functions right here, I have an error. This is because it is a final variable. So that's how we basically make use of the class. We can have a class that just does some little computation, and we can refer to that class. We can also have a class that does this greeting, that greets the user, that takes a variable and greets the user. We can also have a method in the greeting class that also does not take any variable, just greets the user depending on what the user has inputted on the computer. Just take it like, okay, the way you choose to implement your program. So we've only called the add method. You can go ahead and call the multiply method by saying double product equals to evaluate dot multiply. Then we can say x and value. Then we can then print out our value, saying the product of x and value is equal to product. Now we are going to run this program one more time. And so the product of 9 and 10 is equal to 90. So when we just create the method in the evaluate class, all it does is run the expression on the parameter that was provided, then returns the value back to the program that calls it. So that's basically it on classes. You have seen the access modifier. We have, like I said, we have protected, we have private, we have static, we have final, and we also have default. Now the default modifier is what I didn't really point out. So when I remove the static keyword from this, automatically it's a default modifier. Now being a default modifier, let me see the error. Okay, saying I should make it not default. The reason is because I'm calling number of functions from this class. So in order for me to use number of functions in this class, it does not have to be default. So I have to make it public. So automatically it's going to make it public right here. Okay, it has a public after the default. So I'm going to remove the default. So if we don't include the public or the private modifier, then automatically it is default. And to be able to use the default method, we have to create a class inside the same package as the same class that has those methods defined in them. Now let me just create a simple class right here. I'll just call it simple example, just to give you an example of what I'm trying to say. Now to use the evaluate method, all I have to do is just create a variable value equals to, and say evaluate dot add value 8 and 9, then semicolon. So as you can see, because the simple example is inside the same package as the evaluate class, we don't have to import the package. So we can just go ahead and call the add method, but however we have to make use of the class name to call the add method. If I'm in the evaluate.java class, I can call the multiply method from the add method by saying multiply x, y, and I don't have to include the evaluate dot multiply. The reason is because I have this multiply method in the same class, so I don't have to include the evaluate dot multiply. So I'm going to remove this code right here, and we're going to jump back to our simple example. So as you can see, we can call it because they are from the same package. Now, talking about default, I'm going to remove this public right here, and we have one related problem now, and this problem is coming from the main class. But when I open my simple example, I can call the number of functions. I can say number of functions equal to evaluate dot number of functions, and as you can see, it does not throw any error. This is simply because we have the classes in the same package, and I can even go ahead as well as let me see if I can give it a default value. We still don't have any error, but immediately I comment the whole of this, shows one usage, so we just have a default. So I'm going to remove the default. It does not want the default, so I'll delete the default and change to our public. I'll comment this too. So as you can see, that's basically how to use classes. So to use a class, we need to, if we want to create a method that the class can use to operate on different values, we need to define the class, and inside of that class we need to define the different method that we need in the class. So that's it on classes and static methods and static variables. I hope you took it in a thing or two, because we also looked at access modifiers such as private and public, including default. So thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace out.